Jen's going to talk to us about twice exceptionality, which, many of us experience and many gifted kids experience. So she's going to chat about that. Before we start, though, we're going to all sit quietly for 1 minute and breathe.
This is Jen approved. Because the other presentation I give, I teach how to breathe because it's so nice.
Once upon a time, up until last May, I taught special education for the previous 25 years, and we would use this in our classroom all the time, many times during the day. So this is a little app, and it's got a bell sound of a bowl.
Hey, welcome. I don't even know where you're going, but you are in the right place.
You're in the right place. You know that.
Let me breathe. Right on.
We're going to breathe now. Ready? When you hear the bell, you have 1 minute to breathe. Don't stop.
That is the ringiest bell. I love it.
Isn't it nice?
It's ringing. Alrighty, so welcome. I'm Jen Merrill, and I will catch you up on to who I am and what I'm all about. But you are sitting here, and what I want the world to know about parenting twice exceptional kids, because we all know they are something else. So, 7 years ago, I sat down and frantically wrote a blog post. Love having teenagers. It's been fantastic. We also have a 14-year-old son, who we suspect is also 2E, but in a wildly different way than his brother, of course, because why be easy and have two that have the same issues? So I call it House of Chaos for true reason. So first, per usual, I have to give you a little disclaimer. I am not an expert. I am not a professional speaker. I am a writer and a teacher and a flutist and a mom. I am not an expert. Okay, so take this all with a grain of salt. I observe and comment on the absurdities of gifted life and attempt to help other parents feel less alone. Because if there's anything I have learned in the last decade or so, is every parent who is dealing with this feels like they are the only parent dealing with this. At best, I am the parenting version of a black box warning, and not the kind of black box you will find sitting in my wine cabinet. I have made all the mistakes and have said all the wrong things and have more than a few regrets. But what I do know and am an expert in is parenting my twice exceptional sons. And a lot of what I know and say resonates with a lot of other parents. So please listen with a grain of salt or your entire own personal salt lick. And please remember that I do not live in your closet. You might just think that I do. All right. So a little perspective. Going back to what I know about parenting twice exceptional kids, years have given me distance and perspective, which I'm so grateful for. I'm a different person in a different place in life than I was when I first wrote that post 7 years ago. Thank God. In some ways, I feel stronger and more competent. In other ways, or stronger, more competent, thinking I'm through the worst of it. In others, especially when something new pops up, I flash back to some of the worst possible feelings and emotions and things that happened. I flash back to the hardest times and I'm convinced I'm just in the eye of the storm. Sometimes I am convinced all hell will break loose as we get our sons ready for college, because 2E is not easy, you know that. But there's still an awful lot I want the world to know about parenting these incredible expectation-busting kids. So I'm going to try and limit it to 10 points. So first and foremost, we are not making this up. These kids exist. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. You know, I'm staring at a room full of people who all know this, who are parenting and teaching and advocating for them. I just want to shout this at extended family and friends who don't understand the behaviors they're witnessing. They don't have the backstory. For example, our son, out of his habitat when visiting grandparents, had a very, very hard time coping with the change in his routine and his habitat. And so that's what his grandparents would only ever see. And it caused no end of frustration for all of us. Now, thank God we're finally past most of that and healing from those days. But we really do have incredibly gifted kids with an alphabet soup of diagnoses. I mean, we're looking at them. It's as though when their wiring was being formed, the universe went through the buffet line of options and went, okay, here we go. Let's go with a big scoop of gifted. But to spice that up, I think I'll toss in some ADHD, a little SPD. The CAPD is looking mighty fresh these days. Can't forget the slow processing speed, that's always so delish. And for giggles, a variety of food allergies and sensitivities. Oh, wait, forgot the speech delay and hidden dysgraphia. Well, I'll put that in the sibling. So my friends know that I am a huge fan of rainbow flirting unicorns, and in fact, I have a large variety of unicorn-related paraphernalia that I have decorated my office with. And most people assume it's because I'm quirky and trendy. Now, I'll own quirky, but I am far from. So I used to consider it a fluid metaphor for what I want for a twice exceptional kid. Things like, you know, appropriate educational setup, support, being believed that they exist. But upon further review, I have finally come to the conclusion that unicorns are twice exceptional kids. Now, hear me out. Few people believe they exist, or they only see a rhinoceros. Okay, the great horned dude. No one can agree on what they need because every single one of those rainbow flirting unicorns is 100% unique. They all have different needs. They are magic when their unusual needs are met. Nothing can hold them back. And they have absolutely no problem stabbing you with their head if the situation warrants it. Twice exceptional kids are rainbow flirting unicorns. And trust me, I see all the colors when my unicorn 2E sons fart. I also taste sound. So now you know. Constant vigilance is our motto. And yes, I did steal that from Mad Eye Moody. Who here is exhausted? I'd rate us both. So you see the exhaustion. Oh yes, it never ends. See, I would raise both hands and feet if I could, except I don't need any help falling down. 2E parents have to be on all the time. For God's sakes, I even turn my computer off once in a while because the computer needs some downtime to be able to recoup. Parents don't get that. We never know what will crop up, when, or how our kids will react, and guaranteed it's going to be different than the last time. So just as soon as we think they get it, they go off and change. We used to say the only thing consistent with our son was the inconsistency. And of course that has, in recent years, changed. On the bright side, I am now somewhat accustomed to that by now, and it's not as jarring. I've learned to surf the unexpected, and I'm getting better at it. At least we're dealing less often with the now hysterical surprises. For example, the pancake puff story, allow me to share from my blog. Spring 2008, so Andy was 7 and Jack was 5. They had a sleepover last night. Andy slept in Jack's room. They get those when they've been good. There will not be one this evening. They got up at, wait for it, 4:41 a.m., according to Andy. He is the one who woke up first and then demanded company from his partner in crime. Andy said he was so excited about the beginning of spring break that he couldn't sleep. No, we did not know they were up. At 5:30, Andy came bounding into our room. Dad, Mom, Dad, if we call right now, we can get a pancake puff pan. What? Huh? Pancake puffs! We can get it right now! My husband. Andy, no. What are you doing up? Go back to bed. We are. Put it back? Okay. And he leaves. I'm dreaming this, right? Our son didn't just call the Pancake Puff 800 number at 5:30 in the morning, did he? This is a dream brought on by stress and a caffeine-free lifestyle, right? Yeah, at one point I didn't drink caffeine. Yes, my lovelies. My 6-year-old called an 800 number this morning in order to order a pancake puff pan with his 3-year-old brother as an accomplice. He was seduced by the siren call of, call now, and wait, there's more, and the thought of round pancakes with whipped cream squished inside. I'm only very thankful that he didn't try to use his library card number to pay for it. Side note, my mother-in-law gave him a pancake puff pan for his birthday 3 weeks later. His younger brother did something similar a year later. No matter what I do, they stay one step ahead of me. After Andy attempted to acquire a pancake puffs pan last spring, you'd think I'd stay ahead of them. You'd be wrong. Very, very wrong. While I was in the shower this morning, Jack watched Wall-E. Not a big deal. He came running up to tell me he was watching it. No prob, the boys got it for Christmas. Except he got it off of pay-per-view. Yes, my 4-year-old little genius can read so well that he followed all the instructions for buying a movie, and right now he is happily viewing his favorite Pixar flick. The best part, he didn't actually purchase it. It's on a 24-hour rental. Yes, we will be disabling the pay-per-view this evening. So my kids were all about the buy now. 2E parents dread phone calls from the school. To this day, my ringtone for a school calling me is the Darth Vader theme. Because I knew if I heard that coming from my phone, something bad was going down and the rest of the day was going to be choked by the force. I very rarely hear it anymore, as our younger son is better able to manage school, and I don't get calls from teachers, administrators, principals, counselors, gifted coordinators. 2E parents practically have PTSD from student-teacher conferences. We've homeschooled our oldest for 6 years now, and anxiety still dances on my soul when I go to his brother's parent-teacher conferences. I walk in and I'm almost shaking. My husband practically has to sedate me. If I ever need to advocate for him, I'm gonna need to be sedated. So 2E parents really are that exhausted mind, body, and soul. But let me say something else about being on all the time. Folks, it ain't healthy. Flat out, full stop. That level of stress for an extended period of time can cause long-term damage. I bring this up because I am currently dealing with the fallout of years of high parental stress on top of my own tightly wound gifted wiring. I also personally know far too many moms of gifted and twice exceptional kids who are also dealing with health issues from years of high parental stress. Self-care is not selfish, it is required, and please do not let anyone make you feel guilty about taking time to take care of yourself. I know how hard it is. Oh my God, trust me, I know how hard it is. But parenting these kids is a marathon at a sprinter's pace. And if you don't take care of yourself for the long haul, you're gonna pay for it. And just like 2E kids aren't found in mainstream media, neither are our specialized needs. A friend and colleague, Kate Arms, and I have started offering online classes for parents of complex kids on the topic of self-care. She's an amazing life coach. I am the glory that you see in front of you. And between the two of us, we have 6 2E kids and can help you help yourself. There is such a need for this out there. If parents can help themselves, they're able to help their kids so much better. These kids are expensive. What else would you expect from a unicorn? Therapy, medications, special diets, specialist classes, camps, computer programs, special evaluations, doctor visits, museum memberships, books upon books, repair and or replacement of home items fallen victim to scientific investigations, seamless and tagless clothing, weighted blankets, homeschool curriculum, tutors. Did I miss any?
No, when they break stuff because they're mad.
When they break stuff because they're mad. My son currently right now is negotiating for a server rack because people keep giving him computer servers, and right now they're stacked up on card tables. Yeah?
Replacement of all items that were just mentioned because they're lost.
Yes. They walk away.
Yeah, any of the number of places I took them in that list.
Yes. 2E kids, when they own things, apparently they grow legs and they just walk on out. So, these aren't even extras. These are necessary needs for these kids to help with the basic skills they're striving and food for their brains. I once started to figure out a rough cost of what it cost, of what we spent to help our oldest son, almost none of it covered by insurance, by the way, and I had to stop because the number was scaring me. It was truly frightening. However, my husband and I are 100% confident and convinced that the cost was worth it, because if we hadn't done all these interventions when he was younger, we'd be dealing with much, much bigger issues today. That said, we both know that right now our sons need help with executive function, little dysgraphia. We think the younger one could use some vision therapy, but it's on hold because our golden goose ran away. No one can figure out our parenting style, and we don't expect you to understand. My husband and I laugh about it now, but for a long time, we had to be ready with the Secret Service routine. Grab the kids, stay low, run for the car. For a long time, I would go to the gym and lift weights so that I could carry a hysterical kid up a flight of stairs without losing any teeth. And if I had continued with it, I would be so buff right now. So, I know I sometimes give the impression of benign neglect, and I figure at this point, I reckon my sons are bright enough to figure out what does and does not work for them. I also believe that life can be a great teacher. But I also know that I often give the impression of being the ultimate helicopter parent. When your son is going down for the 3rd time, and you're the only one who notices that, and everyone else is exclaiming that his towel is not regulation length, you rescue the kid and to hell with the towel. So I will say that after several years, I'm a little less helicopter parent and have set up shop on the benign neglect side. I'm happy there. I can put my feet up, it's wonderful. I attribute that to homeschooling, increased maturity on his part, and again, to sheer exhaustion from years of constant vigilance. I'm also much better ignoring parents and ignoring other people who comment on my parenting. Bye. If you no 2E kid, no jokes from you at all. I've only made it this far parenting twice exceptional sons because of a healthy gallows humor. It has saved me mind and soul. I laugh to keep from screaming. You get the idea, you know, isn't it? So only 2E parents get to say that twice exceptional means exceptionally gifted and an exceptional pain in the butt. No one else, period, full stop. And no comments either from the peanut gallery. If you don't know the code words, please do not make any comments. And if you don't know the code words, you guys are in here, I can share them. That's how we 2E gifted parents can find each other in public. Quirky, challenging, needed educational interventions other than what the school could provide. Very bright, deep thinker but doesn't test well, easily overwhelmed by sensory input, makes unusual and profound connections, not like other kids his or her age. All code words are accompanied by a twitchy eye and hands clutching either coffee or wine. So if you have a 2E kid, raise a toast to yourselves and the ability to laugh at the chaos that is in your lives. You've earned it. I love this quote. Michael Pahowski, it is a common mistake to take something exceptional as a deficit. Our kids abhor change, yet crave novelty. Should have seen this one coming, and it's funny how the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I hate change. I mean, I really, really hate change. Even worse than change is uncertainty. But I also hate feeling stagnant and crave novelty as well. And our boys are a lot like that too. They need the reliability of their comfort zone and resist change unless they're in control of it. I remember one time our oldest, back when we were living in Colorado, losing his ever-loving mind because I moved a table in the basement. Never mind that it was an improvement, and he then would have more space for Legos and more space for the big honking love sack that he could jump into and get squished around, you know, all that sensory input. No, it was change, and he was not in control of it. Things have improved immensely since that time, but I also work to change as little as possible these days. After that first move 7 years ago, we moved again 4 years later. At some point, our current house is going to need some renovation, and I may need to sedate the entire family. Every 2E kid is more different than the next. That's what makes parenting them so frustrating, right? They're not in mainstream parenting books or magazines or blogs. Heck, they're hard to find in some gifted publications, a notable exception being 2E Newsletter. And if you don't subscribe to 2E Newsletter, highly recommend you do. Every single one of these kids presents different challenges. I know a lot of 2E kids now, and not one of them is like another. I teach flute to a lot of 2E kids now, and not one of them is like another. And I am so lucky to teach them. They are awesome. So I have two 2E sons, and they couldn't be any more different if they tried. Andy is the oldest, he's 17. He is a social introvert, think about that one, with a wacky sense of humor, a tech genius, I am not kidding. He's homeschooled, needs complete silence in order to concentrate. His younger brother Jack is 14, able to function in public school, will be going to high school this fall. A quiet extrovert, think about that one, has an artist's eye and soul. He's at filmmaking camp right now, and is always making noise. There's a reason I don't homeschool both. The one thing I'd say 2E kids have in common is that their parents are desperately trying to find other 2E parents. So hi guys, you're at an entire conference full of them. Yay. You have found your people. We are all in the same leaky boat trying to bail out with a cracked styrofoam cup. So you're here. You can talk about your kids' successes without being seen as bragging. You can talk about your kids' challenges without fear of judgment. So, this entire weekend is a 2E parenting oasis. Enjoy it. It's a calming relief. It is the best. I have pretty awesome guys. For the record, they are not taller than me. I am actually squatting down so I can be in the photo with them because I am abnormally tall. Andy is in the middle there, Jack's on the left, and that's the day we went out and picked strawberries, and then I spent the next 3 days canning strawberries. I got the best guys. Love this quote too. Different is not deficient. Different is awesome. I keep telling my kids and my flute students too, weird is just a side effect of awesome. Sometimes we wonder why we had kids in the first place. Now, this one is so hard to admit, but it's true. In years past, when I had many more bad days, I wondered why I wanted kids, when I could have been raising llamas or hissing cockroaches or something. I think of all that my husband and I have given up by raising these outlier kids, okay, like a normal life, vacations, anything resembling a career for me, financial security, and some days it's just really tough to go on. But we do. I can't go on, I must go on. I love my sons with a passion that is beyond words, and I would do anything for them, and I'm sure you all feel the same thing about yours. Oh my God, there have been so many hard and painful moments since becoming a parent, and I know others who have had it harder. So, it's not supposed to be this hard, right? But it is, and I think if we acknowledge that, we can move on from it. So I want you to mentally congratulate yourselves for getting to this point. You have not run naked down the street screaming, and if you have, I have not seen you on the news, so you're safe. You've taken a few days out of your life to figure out how to help you and your 2E kid, and you're doing the hard and thankless work of parenting a complex kid in a world that doesn't understand them. You're still vertical, that's a good sign. You're good and you're gonna be okay. Thankfully, I've had quite a few less dark and disturbing days than in past years. The guilt trips are more or less behind me, knock wood. But there was a time when I really wondered why I had kids. And it's hard, and I really wanted kids. So now I'm in that really kind of fun time in between the hard work of young, gifted kids and waiting for eventual potential grandchildren. And I'm looking forward to the Schadenfreude of, I hope you have a kid just like you, because I kind of earned that. We really could go for some normal around here. I am well aware of the irony that my husband and I met in Normal, Illinois, and our lives are anything but. Double irony, we also used to live in Erie. when you have kids that simultaneously party on both sides of the bell curve, you have an outlier among outliers. Our normal is skewed, and yet we have to live in society's normal every day. On social media, in traditional media, books, magazines, song lyrics, it's not as though we're going to get a new hip-hop musical on the challenges and excitement of parenting a young, precocious 2E child with ADHD and a passion for technology and the rise of artificial intelligence. It's not going to happen. Our lives are heavy-duty cycle, and we are at best hand-wash delegates. I used to deeply envy the normal family, the one that could go out for the day without worrying about overstimulation or food sensitivities. I remember once I was pregnant with Jack and Andy was 3 and we went to the zoo on Mother's Day. And somehow it ended up being the most normal of normal days we'd had in months. He had a great time, it wasn't overwhelming, I'm not trying to chase him with an enormous belly, it was fantastic. I lived off of that day for months. So, used to nothing, we still have to worry about overstimulation and food sensitivities. I envy the family that doesn't have the huge, crazy, and disparate set of concerns that can plan for college without needing 7 backup plans. And I mean, we do. My son's a senior. We've got 7 backup plans. The family whose kids get involved in school and social activities, community activities without threats of bodily harm. The families whose kids appear to have the normal childhood you had or thought you had. I thought I had a normal childhood, and then I went, not everybody goes to the museum every weekend, and not everybody learns how to do XYZ from their parents. But as our sons have gotten older and matured and our skills have gotten better, we've established an uneasy truce with normal. We just want some understanding and acceptance, period. Parenting 2E kids can be so isolating. Our kids are different, and we know that, they know that. They're not always being rude and immature. It's just that they're wired differently and have a hard time regulating. And you'll learn all about that this weekend in ways that can help you help them. When they learn something, they don't mean to interrupt. They just want to share what they know right now, with you, right now. They struggle with executive function to the point that leaving the house on time twice in a row is a notable event. I cannot tell you how many times I sent Andy up to get his shoes, and 20 minutes later, I walked upstairs to find him naked playing Legos. Okay. Thank God at 17, he no longer does that, because I'm not so sure my eyes and psyche could handle it. Our kids aren't stupid because they have this gifted wiring and aren't at the top of their class. They're not. No one knows how hard they work just to appear average. The giftedness masks the challenges mask the giftedness. And parents, seeing it all up close and personal, are doing all of the heavy lifting. I've lost count of how many times I have been patronized and treated with barely concealed condescension because I dared to bring up concerns I had about my son's education or health. A lot. I've lost count. It's always frustrating yet satisfying when I'm proven right. And suddenly I get a lot more respect from the person in question. Parents of these incredibly complex yet out-of-the-box kids just want acceptance, understanding, and for the rest of the world to not make it any harder for them. It's hard enough, my friends, without being judged and critiqued. So instead of, why don't you? Go ahead and drop that and ask instead, how can I help? Bonus! It gets better. Kinda. Sorta. A little. I wish we could say we hit a magical milestone and everything was better, perfect, no problems. Kinda. We hit age 12 and a half with Andy, and suddenly things were better. Behavior, health, attention, maturity, all were better. Not perfect, not awesome, just better. Improvement one small victory at a time. It was as though he finally settled into himself and was comfortable with who he was. Overwhelmed meltdowns are all but gone. They pretty much disappeared when we pulled him to homeschool, along with the black cloud of anxiety that just sort of hung all over him all the time. Issues only really crop up if his blood sugar has bottomed out, or he's exhausted, or if he's eaten something he shouldn't have. Pretty much the case for any of us, I'm sure. And he is so much better at self-regulating and self-advocating if and when it does happen. We're also much better at recognizing his triggers. and not triggering them. And it's surprising even now how we keep discovering new things that can cause issues, and that the littlest things can have the hugest impact. For the last few years, we have enjoyed our sons, have enjoyed parenting in a way that I never thought we would be able to. Again, let me reiterate, I love having teenagers. They are so much fun, or at least mine are. They send me stuff from Reddit, I send them stuff from Reddit, we have the same jokes, we laugh. I never thought I'd see this day, and I am so grateful. They are easier now as teens than ever before and continue to surprise us. A couple of weeks ago, the kid who would freak out over swimming went to Boy Scout camp, jumped into the lake, and gathered up snails with his bare hands. I couldn't believe it when my husband told me. Is it the calm before the storm? Maybe, maybe not. Our 14-year-old was the easiest baby and child ever. I mean, when he was born, that's when we started to realize we got something up with this other kid. What's going on here right now? However, he's 14, and now at the beginning of his teen years, I am intimately familiar with why animals eat their young. If he lives to see 15, of course I also said that if I let him live to see 14. He may end up being the challenging teen his older brother currently isn't. But we have skills now that we didn't have a decade ago. We have more patience and an inner toughness honed over years of trial and tribulation. We also have more resources for assistance than ever before. 13 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot, and it has built up over the last decade. And there are so many more resources that I can reach out and grab to help my sons. We have the resources, and we have a well-stocked liquor cabinet. We can get through this. I still have really stressful, terrible days, but they're fewer and further between. Thank God. I've made them through them before, and I will make it again. I guarantee you will as well. So, there you go. 10 things I want the world to know about parenting 2E kids. I'd shout them from the rooftops, but heights. Yeah, that's okay, thanks. Instead, I write and talk and advocate and hope that that makes a difference for 2E kids and their parents, especially the parents. The kids, we hope the parents, the kids will get the help they need. I'd like to thank Seng for having me here to speak to you all. I'd like to thank Gifted Homeschoolers Forum for supporting me in my writing and advocacy efforts. If you ever need or want to find me, here is all my contact info. I try to return emails as best I can, but honestly, often my inbox sits on me and gives me noogies until I cry, so, I do what I can. And I am happy to take any questions, comments, vague, guttural screams, whatever you're good with. Thank you. Anyone? Cocktail
I
recipes?
guess mine is just a comment.
Yes, absolutely.
I have 2 gifted 2E grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, the struggle I've seen my daughter and her husband, which is very similar to what you're doing now. There's a massive block of land. We sold our house and we built a house on the same block of land, and we are the greatest supporters.
I have to tell you, I am
Best thing
thrilled.
we've ever done.
Yes,
There's no judgment.
yes,
We're all in this together.
thank God.
One of the best things we've ever done. When I saw the stress, the particular stress that my daughter was under, I thought, this
Yes.
will go on. Beautiful kids, love them to bits.
Yes,
11-year-old boy, 9-year-old girl.
lovely.
Present very differently.
Of course they do, because it would be far too easy for them to present the same way.
So I love this. I've
Thank
got
you.
Notes, I've got
So much. Thank
got
you.
a blog going.
Outstanding. They are very lucky to have an involved grandparent who's got their back.
And we're very fortunate.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. What you got?
So I may have been crying while you were sharing lots of laughing, but also.
I'm sorry.
No, just.
I hear that too. I hear that a lot.
Well, just, that solidarity and validation. So I'm glad to hear that you continue to see each other.
Is this your first Seng?
What's that?
Is this your first Seng conference?
It is.
Yes. Welcome.
Um,
There are a lot of people here who have been there and will reach back a hand
Sure.
and help. Yeah.
I wonder if you could speak to how, so I'm here in a professional capacity as well.
Sure. Absolutely.
So luckily, in my school, I mean, it happens.
Oh, double dipping.
I wondered if you could speak to how we help parents get to all the identification pieces and that journey for us. Like when you said the gifts mask,
Mm-hmm.
the challenges, you know, me as a mom having to say, but you don't understand what it's
Yeah.
like at home,
Right.
right?
Right.
She may present this way at school, and vice versa.
Yes.
So how did you get to the 2E? Because a lot of parents that I work with don't even know that 2E is a thing.
Right. They think if you're gifted, well, you are presented with a gift,
Yeah.
and you're all on the right-hand side of the bell curve.
We live in special ed.
Right.
And so I do a lot of work with our special ed
Mm-hmm.
folks.
I have a two-part answer for you, I guess. When he was first identified, the first time he was tested, he's been tested 3 times. Okay, so the first 2 times we were in Colorado, and he was tested at the Gifted Development Center in Denver. And in Colorado, the identification,
I actually live in Colorado, so yes.
so jealous.
So
I miss it.
did you seek out the identification? Those tests
Yes.
that you did?
Yes, we did, because the first time he was 4, and basically it was, we gotta find what we're dealing with here. I could care less about school, but oh my God, what is going on? Because it's him, it's the holistic him that we could not figure out. The second time he was identified, he was in 3rd grade, and we needed to get some proof that this is what we're dealing with. And as soon as we did, we were able to get an advanced learning plan, which Colorado has IEPs for giftedness, which was glorious. But he didn't get an IEP. So he had an ALP and unofficial accommodations. And it was wonderful. His 4th grade teacher, who he still emails to tell him what's going on in his life, was fantastic in supporting him. Then we moved to Illinois. Nothing. Barren wasteland. And I tried to get my son assistance, and they immediately went to the IEP because all they could see was the challenges he was having. Not the fact that he was incredibly bright, but they refused to put him in the gifted program because he didn't test high enough. So after beating our heads against that and realizing that the only outcome of the IEP we were going to get was an emotional disorder label, which he did not have, we said, thank you for your time, and pulled him to homeschool. Any of the emotional issues that they were seeing evaporated the second we took him out of school, because they were seeing the kid who was barely holding it together all day because he wasn't being challenged intellectually, and he wasn't being allowed to do what made him come alive, and instead it was sit down, shut up, do this worksheet, and then he would barely hold it together, and then he would come home and lose it on me because he had had enough, he couldn't do it, and then 4-hour meltdowns over a 10-minute worksheet. Getting the parents to get the identification, when he went into 3rd grade, we wrote out a very long letter to his 3rd grade teacher that was supported, and also with info from his 2nd grade teacher saying, this is what has worked in the past, this is what is working now, this is what we have, this is what we've seen, this is what we do. And actually it was from 3rd grade into 4th grade, and his 4th grade teacher said that was the greatest thing that you could have given me, because it allowed me to see from the get-go what he needed, and it cut 3 months off of getting services for him. Not even services, just the accommodations he needed. I highly recommend doing that if your school is open to that sort of input. Work with the current teacher and work as a team to put together, this is what we've got, what's worked, what hasn't. Please trust me, because I know you've seen so many kids, but I know this one.
Well, as part of that, do you utilize the 504 for either voice?
The younger one had an IEP and then a 504 for speech, and then no longer has it. And then because of the homeschooling, my older son has nothing, which is why we had to have him evaluated a 3rd time, because homeschooling doesn't get rid of the twice exceptionality and the slow processing speed and everything, and we needed a consistent paper trail for college applications and for college testings for him to have extended time, and for disability services in college. So no, we haven't gone the 504 route with either
As an
one.
educator, I would say it's a very underutilized process because often TUI kids won't qualify
For an IEP, right. that gets in the way of them, of their learning.
And so then for our daughter, that is the way that we've been able to access those accommodations.
Nice.
And unlike an IEP that has a very set, how many times it's revisited,
Mm-hmm.
and schools don't like to hold those, like, we aren't gonna get an extra meeting if it's
Right.
not time for your IEP review. A 504 is a fluid document that you can call as a parent and meet whenever needs change.
Excellent.
So just throwing that out for the good of the group.
Yes.
Just to add to that,
Yeah.
Bill, it can be powerful that if the school can offer the support the child needs, you have to go
Yeah.
forward.
That's why I like to work with the teachers first and try and get even unofficial accommodations first, and then work your way up. And that's why homeschooling worked for our kids so much, because none of those were working for him.
And the sad part is there's people like you who tried so hard
Yeah.
to make the system work.
Mhm.
And the sort of bureaucratic wall of the
Yeah.
system itself stopped you guys from actually being able to give these kids what they need, because you're not, you can see
Mhm.
what other 2E kids
Yep.
actually require, you can see what they need, and yet you're sort of running to make it happen, and just keep taking that very cool. So there's a lot of really hardworking, knowledgeable people in the field that are just stopping the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a 7-year-old, and it started at 3.
Yeah.
When I got a call, the babysitter, he had sliced the blinds and destroyed them.
Oh my.
So we thought.
What was his reasoning?
He misses that.
So he cut the blinds
Right.
and missed it. Oh man. Yeah.
But it's been an uphill battle because
Mhm.
they were just dealing with the behavioral.
Mhm.
And he was labeled a bad kid everywhere we went.
Mhm.
Behavioral specialist after behavioral specialist after behavioral specialist. He's a young student,
Mhm.
he's in July birthday.
Yeah.
But I think one more year in preschool, we've done him in,
Mhm.
he's ready to leave.
Mhm.
And so, he entered kindergarten, couldn't sit on the reading rug, he couldn't do the phonograms,
Right,
he couldn't
right.
sit still, he couldn't concentrate, yada, yada, yada. The teacher was very accommodating, but
Mhm.
that can only go so far.
Right, because they have a whole classroom.
We went the medication route,
Yeah.
which.
We've done that.
Which, after 6 months, helped tremendously.
Mhm.
But it was my mom, who's an educator, who said, I think Jack has dyslexia.
Mhm.
And she goes, he's got like 23 of the 26 markers.
Wow.
Recognize him in school. And I went to school for elementary ed,
Yeah.
and special ed, a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't recognize it. And so.
Yeah.
So, I went to, she said, you need to go to the school psychologist, and you need to get him evaluated.
Mhm.
And this was in January of his kindergarten. And she said, we don't evaluate until the end of first grade.
So my kids
Because
just gotta
he has
suffer?
to be 2 years.
Right, and that's what gets me about response to intervention, is they have to fail a certain amount or a certain level or for a certain length of time before they have to.
It's until second or third grade.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it's.
And by
we don't
then,
wanna check anything out
you
until.
lose the kid and they have completely checked out. It
And we
took
have plenty of
months
students
for my
that are
kid to
so
recover.
much lower than that, and really.
Yeah, this is normal,
worry
he's in
about.
kindergarten.
Yeah, no.
It's normal for him to be behind.
Nope.
Even in preschool, it's normal for him to be behind. And so I was school psychologist and I said, he's been evaluated and it looks like he may have dyslexia.
Mhm.
Who evaluated him?
Yeah.
My mom. So she's like, okay. And I'm like, she knows what she's doing. She works in a specialized school.
Mhm.
This is what it's going
Yeah.
So, tooth and nail, we had him evaluated
Mhm.
in May.
2 standard
So
deviations plus.
because of the variation, he was able to get an IEP
Thank God.
because of the huge discrepancy.
Right.
So then in first grade, we did the IEP, and we had an IEP meeting, because he was still having behavioral issues, still getting in-school suspensions.
Mhm.
81 tardies.
In first grade?
Didn't want to go to school.
Can't say I blame him.
Didn't want to go to school.
Yeah.
And so we met with the team, talked about the IEP,
Mhm.
principals,
Oh yeah,
psychologists,
I've done
the
those
whole-
meetings.
The whole team, and, my mom was there, and she said, what are you doing for his dyslexia?
Mhm.
And the special ed teacher said, well, you're using this girl there, and she's meanwhile tutoring.
Mhm.
And she said, that doesn't work for him. He reads a whole paragraph, he can use this program, so the whole like doesn't fit.
Mhm.
Not all dyslexics are the same kind of thing. And then the school psychologist is like, well, I read an article.
Read an
you
article.
know, And so we're talking about his improvement.
Make a lot of article about dyslexia.
And in the IEP, he gets 80 minutes of specialized reading per week. So 15 is from the special ed teacher.
Okay.
And the other is from the parenting class. From the teacher who self-admittedly in the IEP meeting said she knew nothing about dyslexia after teaching for 25 years.
Keep fighting.
Well, wait.
Oh no, it gets better.
So she's like,
You sure you don't need the cocktail recipes at this point?
she's like, after this, we need to get him out of the school. So
Yeah.
she calls her boss, because her school is $25,000 a year. She says, how can we get him in? She,
Yeah.
and thank God, she walks on water. She said, we'll figure it out. Just get him enrolled, we'll figure it
Keep
out.
working there.
From January
Uh-huh.
to the end of the school year.
First grade still.
First grade.
Uh-huh.
Completely different pay. No outbursts at home.
Mm-hmm.
No, he did sometimes keep it together at school.
Yeah.
And,
Lose it at home.
Lose it, yeah. But, I was not being physically abused
Yeah.
anymore.
Mhm.
And he had confidence.
Yeah.
And
It's
he had
amazing
reinforcement.
what happens when their needs are met.
And he found his tribe.
He found his tribe. And that was what was hard with the schools, because after we moved to Illinois, the gifted program for the entire district was at a separate school. So all of his intellectual peers weren't even in the school. So he had nobody. When we pulled him, we found a gifted homeschooling co-op, so he was able to do that, and that's continued. And he's found his peers, and thank God for that. He needed them.
And one more comment.
Yes?
Is that the IEP, she's telling him that he's not advancing, and they're saying, we don't change the IEP unless he goes lower or he flatlines. So if you go 15% to 16% fluency, it's okay, as long as the skills line up.
What state?
Arizona.
Ouch.
Number 48, I think.
Kind of totally different topic, going back to quickly, you said that when someday when you have grandchildren, they feel kind of a sense of payback. That
Yeah, I know they're
kids
gonna have
like
two
them.
kids of their own.
But on the flip side, my daughter, who's very gifted and very 2E, she's 20 now, and she was saying that she couldn't imagine and would be horrified by having normal or typical kids. Because she would have no clue how to,
Yeah.
so it's just as much of a loop for
Mhm.
them to have kids like themselves, not have kids like themselves, than it is to,
Yeah.
what we're going through.
Oh yeah.
So it actually be better payback if they have normal kids.
kids.
Yeah.
And at this point, I wouldn't know what to do. You're just
They're so
sitting there.
bored.
You're not trying to dismantle the
They
kitchen.
might actually sleep.
They sleep. What do you mean you know how to color and you want to color? Wow, here are some Legos. Anybody else? Thank you for coming. Really do appreciate it.